What's going on, champs and champettes? It's FireMonkey here, and in today's YouTube video I want to go ahead and talk about Fortnite Festival and the recent bad parts of it that a lot of people have been mentioning, publicly, just kind of in terms of what's going on with the mode. Now, the people who haven't been keeping up in the past 2 weeks, it has been pretty bleak for Fortnite Festival. I don't say this because the mode has been unplayable or buggy or anything like that, but instead because of the fact that for some reason, Epic Games has gone ahead and made it so that Fortnite Festival is only getting one new song per week. At first, this might not sound like too much of a bad thing, but when you focus on the early days of Fortnite Festival, when we were getting like 6 songs a week, slowly dwindling down to like 4 songs a week, it was a lot better. But now, if you want to actually get new content in that mode, you have to wait weekly to figure out if that 1 to 2 new daily song, or I guess weekly songs that you're getting, is going to be something you're interested in. And it's not just about them going ahead and doing this whole system of 1 song per week, lowering how many songs they're going to be getting, because if they keep that going for a whole entire year, that's basically only 52 songs, not including battle passes or any bonus songs they might actually do. Why is there 2 trash cans? But it felt like we had such a good pace going early on for Epic Games and Fortnite Festival, and then as time got on, they just started getting less and less stuff, and it just felt like they were slowly trying to kill off the mode or give it less engagement, while still keeping it afloat, because, there are some people who enjoy the unique gameplay that exists there, especially when we don't have like a modern, normal Rock Band game or anything like that, because, Fortnite Festival is Rock Band at the end of the day. But of course, that isn't the only complaint and issue that's kind of been going on with the mode recently. Another complaint and issue that's been going on recently is how they're starting to do a lot more FOMO in Fortnite Festival, to the point where some people have actually called it FOMO Festival. What I mean by this is, in the item shop, you have 40 jam tracks, or around 40 to 50 jam tracks each week, that you're able to actually purchase, and this sounds pretty good. You get some songs you're able to pick from, but in the early days of Fortnite Festival, and as we had gone through like half a year or whatever at that point, maybe even over a year of Fortnite Festival existing, every single jam track that wasn't a battle pass song was available in the item shop at the exact same time, which meant that we were able to pick from over a catalog of 400 songs at any point in time to actually purchase. It's similar to normal DLCs in a video game. Those aren't in a rotation item shop, those are stuff that is just available for you normally, and it made sense for Fortnite Festival because that is a mode focused on the actual songs being gameplay. They're directly selling you gameplay features, which essentially is a DLC, and they were making it so that you were able to purchase any of those whenever you wanted, so that you didn't have to worry about, oh hey, what if this doesn't come back around? And then one day out of the blue recently, in the past few months, they decided to just cut that out of the way instantly, not really tell anyone publicly until a few days after it already happened. I mean, I originally was posting on social media saying that it was a bug or whatever, and they basically made a whole entire system where instead of having 400 plus songs available in the item shop at all times, you can pick your favorite ones, it was now around 40 to 50 on a weekly rotation. So if there was a song you wanted, you had to hope and pray that it was in the actual item shop that week, instead of the old system that they were using where every single song except Battle Pass songs were available at all times. Because of this change, there are now some songs that almost haven't been seen in an entire year in Fortnite's item shop. If I go ahead and look over on my other monitor, we have songs such as, actually wait, hold on, let me make sure none of these are in the music pass and are actually in the item shop so you guys get the proper information here. But yeah, we have songs such as Breaking Me, which was last seen 334 days ago. We have Say It Proud, which was a free jam track that was available 281 days ago. Now I expect that one to kind of just return anyways whenever they do their little event or whatever, so I wouldn't say that one is like a very exclusive one or whatever that we should be mad it isn't returning, because it will return soon, highly likely. If they don't bring that back, then I'm a little confused what they're doing. We have the Bouncing Back FNCS jam track, last seen 195 days ago. We have ourselves Fade to Black by Metallica, last available 111 days ago. After that, we have some other songs that haven't been seen in over 100 days, such as Lux Eternia or whatever, however you say the Metallica song. A lot of Metallica songs that just haven't been seen in a while. We have Nothing Alright by Witch Gang, which hasn't been seen in 111 days. Enter Sandman by Metallica, 108 days. We have ourselves Still Into You by Paramore, last seen 92 days ago. Ain't It Fun by Paramore, last seen 92 days ago as well. One by Metallica, last seen 90 days ago. We have stuff like The Pretender by Foo Fighters, last seen 87 days ago, and the list just kind of goes on. Now, normally, if we had the old system, these songs wouldn't have been missing for 100 plus days. They would be available at any time for you to purchase. But with a lot of stuff going on internally at Epic Games and stuff like this happening where Fortnite Festival is getting less and less weekly jam tracks, their item shop is getting more and more filled with FOMO, and the company themselves not wanting or not being able to actually talk to us and tell us what's going on, it just makes everything feel worse for the players. Now, of course, as a leaker, I know a lot more about stuff going on internally at Epic Games and stuff like that, and from my understanding when it comes to situations like this, the reason why, there's a lack of communication, and the reason why we have all these weird changes like FOMO in the item shop and stuff for Fortnite Festival isn't really at the blame of FireMonkey. At least I don't believe so. Based on what I have understood over the years of leaking this game, I feel like this responsibility and this whole entire issue of lack of communication lies solely on Epic Games as a company, and not so much the smaller parts of them that exist inside of it, such as Psionics, Harmonix, etc. What I mean by this is when it comes to communication and stuff, Epic Games has been known in the past to do last minute delays, and to even allow people to not really talk about stuff until it's officially been released, which is why there's a lot of times when leakers like myself actually share that information before Epic Games ever does, and that is why they get leaked, because Epic Games wants to keep things secret until they're already released in the game, even if things leak through their files or whatever else. So instead of just announcing something they're working on ahead of time, they just require them, regardless of if it's Battle Royale, Lego Fortnite, Fortnite Audit, well actually that's Lego Fortnite still, Fortnite Festival, Ballistic Mode, etc., to not announce anything until it's added in the exact same update they're announcing it in. I mean, if we look at stuff that's going on with Fortnite Festival before, we've had pro drums in the data and in the charting for basically every single Fortnite Festival song. Every single one has charts for pro drums. Being able to physically use a drum kit on your game, that is something Epic Games wants to do, but they haven't released that for some reason. At the exact same time, we know that they were working on pro drums around the exact same time as pro bass and pro guitar and everything else, but for some reason only those two released and we never got pro drums in the game. And we're starting to see them update a lot of old songs and the newer songs to have pro vocals, so soon you'll actually be able to use your voice in Fortnite Festival and sing. But it's weird to see how they're working on another instance of pro instruments of some sort, even though it's kind of like Vox, your voice or whatever else, instead of giving us a pro drum set or whatever else that is already being worked on before, and they have the code for it, they have the charting for it. I just don't understand why it's taking so long. Obviously they have the ability to make these things come to the game, but they just aren't. Are they waiting for us to go ahead and get pro vocals as well so they can drop both at the exact same time? Maybe, but it just feels so odd how weird it is that, Fortnite Festival will get these updates and get stuff worked on internally, and then it just doesn't release. And as it's not releasing, people have been wanting it for a while, we get new news coming out that it's like, hey, you know how this feature hasn't released yet? Yeah, well, they're working on another feature that is in early development or whatever else. So it's like, if this one's already done, you've already passed the torch, you stopped working on it, why are you now working on something else entirely and not releasing the thing that you've worked on since Fortnite Festival itself launched? And honestly, I'm of the belief that when it comes to Fortnite Festival and when it comes to a lot of the actual metaverse modes or whatever else, when they stop doing well, Epic Games moves those people to either work on Battle Royale or to work on something like, Psionics going back to work more on Rocket League stuff. And it's something that I feel, ends up making the original mode become more of a skeleton crew when Epic Games realizes that it isn't the next Blitz Royale, it's not the next Battle Royale or something like that. It also is interesting to see how the only modes that continuously get like 50,000 plus players or 20,000 whatever else are the Fortnite battle modes, right? We have Blitz Royale, which does really well. We have ourselves the Reload mode, which does really well. We have Battle Royale and Zero Build that have done really well over the years. And then you have stuff like OG, which seems to kind of be more like nostalgia bait. It's not as good as it was when we had the OG seasons or whatever, going back in time to those or whatever else. It just kind of feels like something that's there to sell a battle pass to me personally, and they don't really have too much players with it. I mean, they've slowly taken away ranked from that mode over the time, so it's interesting to see how in terms of like battle modes, they're usually the only success Epic Games has long term in terms of big player counts. Now of course Fortnite Festival still gets like 10-20,000 players on at the exact same time each day, so it's doing really well, and I don't think that's like a bad number or anything. You look at Steam, there's a lot of games that can't even get 10,000 players at all on at the same time, but the main focus and the main issue with it is Epic Games doesn't see that as success. They need next big battle royale mode, the next big mode that gets them like 50,000, 100,000, a million players playing all at the same time. And then when they do release a mode like that, they don't think it's going to succeed. For example, when we had Blitz Royale and what's enabled right now, it is doing better than Battle Royale. It is like the TikTokified extensions or attention span mode that people who are watching this far in the video probably don't care too much about. You know, they got a longer, I can't even speak, but you know, it's an interesting thing that we have to kind of notice. And they said that that was going to be limited time mode, and then it became so popular that they're extending how long it's a limited time for. So it's just like, does Epic Games know what they're doing with their own game, and why do they keep trying to do more FOMO stuff going on here? I mean, we've seen Lego Fortnite and how they've done like the whole entire building kits or whatever else that a lot of people didn't buy because you could only really use them in Lego Fortnite. Now some people such as me did buy some of them, but it just feels like Epic Games has been a little lost in the sauce. And then when it comes to stuff like Fortnite Festival, we have them just kind of realizing, hey, you know what, we're going to do a little bit less over time, and we're just going to keep slowly going further and further away. You know, we'll still get updates and stuff, but instead of actually releasing new player experiences, we're just kind of, you know, gonna do a little bit less on our side so that there's slower updates. It kind of feels like the Save the World dev cycle, where at the start, Save the World was, you know, the main Fortnite mode. It was getting a lot of updates, and now none of these are the main Fortnite modes, but they were a focus. And then as the player count started to dwindle more and more, less and less updates started to come to the game. I mean, look at Reload, my bad. Look at Rocket Racing. Whenever you look at that mode, you'll notice that it was starting to get a lot of updates early on. You know, they had a lot of plans, multiple themed maps over the different seasons and everything, and then as time went on, the players dropped off. You know, it had finicky physics and everything else, so they just kind of let it rot. It hasn't received really a proper update in a long time, where the only news I could tell you about Rocket Racing is just, hey, here's the new weekly rotation for a ranked mode, and that's about it. And I think that is kind of sad to see that one of their must-succeed modes did not succeed at all, and the only thing it has been good for is giving us vehicle cosmetics to customize our cars with different collaborations or whatever else with. With that said, however, this has been another episode of FireMonkey yelling at clouds for like 10 minutes. Hope you and Champions enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the Fortnite metaverse, all the different modes in the game, and how Fortnite Festival has recently been treated with less and less jam tracks weekly, and a lot of weird stuff going on internally or whatever else. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow on another upload, so until then, peace out.